Welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to here as we ring in 2026. We got a new year. We got lots of new stuff ahead of us, and lots to get to here on the show. As things are kind of starting to pick back up again a little bit in terms of free agency and player movement. Because over that past week, Christmas, New Year's, not really a ton going on. A lot of teams kind of taking it easy, players taking it easy over the holidays. But now that we're fully back into the new year, we're on Monday, fresh start. Everyone's getting back to work. Front office is getting back to work. Agents getting back to work, trying to get these players signed. So we're going to start seeing some more activity here as things pick back up. And yes, I am wearing a Packers jersey here, even though this is Brewers Daily, because, hey, still, we got the Green Bay Packers, and they're in the playoffs against a team from Chicago. Now, what happened last time a team from Wisconsin played a team from Chicago in the playoffs? I don't know. It just reminds me of the NLDS a little bit, where Milwaukee Brewers won in 5 over Chicago, and perhaps we can see the Green Bay Packers win over Chicago in the playoffs here. So who knows? We'll see. But very excited for that. It's going to be a very, very fun week in that regard. But on the baseball side of things, some big things happening here. And, of course, the big storyline of the offseason, Freddy Peralta. What are the Brewers going to do with him? And we got a little bit of an update here on Freddy Peralta. We haven't heard much on him lately. Things have kind of quieted down on that front in terms of rumors actually being out there since the winter meetings ended. But we did get a report in The Athletic that came out here about the Yankees and their interest in looking for more starting pitching, and they have interest in Edward Cabrera from the Marlins. Cool, but also just kind of thrown in there from Ken Rosenthal is that the Yankees have also continued to discuss Milwaukee Brewers starter Freddy Peralta. So the Yankees were one of the teams that were previously mentioned as one with interest in Peralta. That back at the winter meetings when they were listing all these teams, the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Astros were in there. Although the Astros may be out of that market after signing Tetsuya Imai from Japan. So that could be one potential suitor off the board there for Freddy Peralta. But there are a number of teams, certainly with that kind of interest in Freddie, and the Yankees are continuing to discuss that with the Brewers. So we'll see ultimately what comes of it. We haven't heard much on movement on that front lately because, again, as Matt Arnold has reiterated, they really love Freddy Peralta. They really would like to have him back. They're not looking to move him. There's certainly plenty of interest. But whether it rises to the level of being enough that tempts the Brewers into actually taking a deal, it seemed like they weren't close on that at the winter meetings. And, there hasn't been anything to say that the Brewers are getting closer necessarily to dealing him. But the Yankees are still hanging around with some interest. They're looking for some starting pitching options. So if they get Edward Cabrera or if they get someone else, that may take them out of the Freddy Peralta market because they're looking for one more starter. If it's not Freddy, could be someone else that they may have to make moves elsewhere. The Brewers could see that market start to dwindle for Freddy Peralta as other teams. They have to pivot to someone to be that starting pitcher. They have to know that they're going to be able to get someone. So if they feel like it's not going to happen with the Brewers, they'll move on to some other target, and Peralta may ultimately end up staying here in Milwaukee. But again, still a lot of time to happen, a lot of time left to go until ultimately we're going to see a decision there. Remember, Corbin Burnes didn't get traded until the beginning of February. We were not far away from spring training, and we thought, okay, Corbin Burnes is just going to make it to his last year here, and then bam, there he goes. So again, there's still time for things to change, and the Yankees still certainly have interest, but they do have other pieces that they are looking at. So that also makes me bring up one of the Yankees' most bitter rivals, the Boston Red Sox, and this trade proposal that I saw on the internet here. That was it just kind of made me laugh a little bit. So this trade proposal, it comes from this Play Tessie guy, or Weei looks like, but this Play Tessie account, which is a song or something that they play out there in Boston, and it says, "Who says no?" in this trade proposal. The Brewers send Freddy Peralta and Abner Uribe to the Red Sox in exchange for Brian Bayo and shortstop prospect Dorian Soto. Now, Dorian Soto is a 17-year-old shortstop prospect way down in the Dominican Summer League. And Brian Bayo, he's pitched a couple of years in the big leagues. He had his best year this past season, 2.5 wins above replacement. At least best year in terms of ERA at a 3.35. His best year in terms of WAR came in 2023, but he had a 4.24 ERA that year. But he's been a pretty consistent, solid starter. Not really elite. Doesn't have big strikeout numbers. But he's been able to pitch 157 or more innings each of the last 3 seasons. He's heading into his age 27 year. And he does have another 4, potentially 5 years of team control remaining. He did sign an extension with Boston, 6 years, $55 million, got a club option for 2030. So he's going to be making just over $6 million this year, $8.5 million next year, and then it bumps up to $16 million in 2028, $19 million in 2029. So it gets to be a little bit pricey for the Brewers after a couple of years. And Bayo, he's kind of a mid-rotation arm, while Freddy Peralta, the Brewers view him as their ace. So trading a number 1 and your backup closer, potentially your closer in waiting, in Abner Uribe, in order to get Bayo, a mid-rotation starter, and a 17-year-old shortstop prospect, when the Brewers already have 4 shortstop prospects that are better than him in their system. Who says no in this deal? The Brewers. The Brewers 100% say no in this trade proposal that Play Tessie put forward. Just getting a mid-rotation arm, albeit with 4 years of control, plus a shortstop prospect that is years away from the major leagues. Bayo would have played his whole career in Milwaukee and be gone by the time Soto would even hopefully arrive in Milwaukee. And by then, the Brewers already have several other shortstops that they like better. So if you're going to entice the Brewers to make a trade, not only of Peralta, but also of Abner Uribe, if they're going to trade both those guys, they're going to need a lot more coming back to help their big league club right now. Because the Brewers aren't just selling Freddy Peralta. They're not just giving him away just for the sake of, we need prospects in order to get something back. The Brewers are going to want someone who is big league ready, or at the very least, very close to it. So, Bayo, okay, sure, you can maybe build something around there, but you're going to need a couple other pieces who can help out that Brewers big league roster. Especially if you're trading 2 guys from this pitching staff, including Abner Uribe. If you're trading both those guys, you need at least 3 arms that are coming back to Milwaukee that can pitch this year, that can have an impact on this roster. If not, the Brewers are not going to be saying no, or the Brewers are not going to be saying yes to that kind of deal. Strike that, reverse it. The Brewers are not going to do that kind of deal. They're not going to package both Peralta and Uribe together for anything less than 3 pitchers or 3 players in general who can help out this big league roster in 2026. Zero chance at all they do it for Brian Bayo and Dorian Soto. That is just simply not going to be enough to cut it. It's very hopeful on the part of the Red Sox fan, but it is not in any way realistic. Something that the Brewers would be willing to accept. And that's really the toughest part about trying to put together trade proposals, because we don't exactly know how these teams evaluate players. If you ask Brewers fans, if you ask me, I would have thought Isaac Collins could have gotten you more than Angel Serpa, or Nick Mears maybe could have gotten you more than that. But instead, both of them together only get you Serpa. So, the valuations we have, the valuations GMs have, are totally different. But yeah, trying to put it together, and when you're the fan of one team and trying to think of, the other team, we'll just grab this guy and this guy. It's no, these guys are kind of also important to that organization. And what they like to do, how they operate. Don't necessarily know how some of these other teams operate. But in terms of what I know about the Brewers and how they operate, that trade proposal of Peralta and Uribe for Bayo and Dorian Soto simply not going to be enough. You're going to need a lot more in order to convince the Brewers to make that happen. So it's tough. I know, I get it. I've certainly made my fair share of trade proposals and certainly my fair share of bad ones. But still, it's tough. But that one is a 100% no-go for the Milwaukee Brewers. So one thing that should be a yes, though, for the Brewers is a Pat Murphy contract extension. We haven't heard anything about it yet. We saw that Stephen Vogt got himself a contract extension, and now Kansas City gave their manager, Matt Quatraro, a 3-year contract extension. And Quatraro, has helped turn that team around. The Royals getting a lot better in recent years, coming out of a rebuild. But Pat Murphy, at least according to publicly known reports, has not yet gotten a contract extension. It wouldn't surprise me if he has already gotten one and the Brewers just simply haven't said anything about it because they like to keep those kinds of details under wraps. They don't like to tell us those things. Hopefully Murphy is next. I don't see any reason why the Brewers would hesitate to give Pat Murphy a contract extension, given that he's won Manager of the Year. Both seasons he's been the manager of the club. So I would imagine they'd want to keep him around. I'm pretty sure, Murphy wants to stick around. So I don't see any reason why he hasn't gotten one yet. I'm imagining he has, or maybe they'll get to ironing out the details maybe in spring. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do it, but we haven't seen it at least publicly reported yet that they've signed Murphy to a contract extension. But also, with how much they love the guy, or at least they seem to love Pat Murphy as manager, and how much the fan base certainly loves him and how popular of a guy he is, you'd think they wouldn't hesitate to announce, hey, we've signed Pat Murphy to another contract extension. If you don't want to announce the years, fine. You don't want to announce the salary, fine. I get it. But just say, hey, we signed him to an extension. He's sticking around. And everyone can go, yay, great PR move. It's a win for everybody. Let's move on. But they also haven't finalized the rest of their coaching staff, too. I asked them about this, a month ago at the winter meetings. Still getting a couple pieces. Trying to backfill the roles of Ricky Weeks, who's moving to the front office. They lose one of their hitting coaches in Connor Dawson. He goes to Kansas City. So they got some openings potentially in that coaching staff that they want to fill. And they're trying to get some of those names finalized. And, they're hoping for an announcement soon. They haven't made one. So maybe some of the targets fell through. I don't know. But that's something to keep an eye on as well. That, there's supposedly supposed to be an announcement soon. And there hasn't been on the coaching staff. So maybe they're waiting until all that's done, all the assistant coaches are done, and then they'll publicly announce the rest of the coaching staff, or publicly announce something for Murphy. But hopefully that's coming next year, and they can get something finalized. And finally, I want to talk to you a little bit kind of more about some sad news. I know I'm kind of ending on a bit of a downer. But Brewers pitching prospect Frank Chiarone, their 4th-round pick in this past year's draft, left-handed pitcher, high school kid out of New Jersey, got injured in a car wreck a couple of days ago, and he's been hospitalized. And we don't really know much of the details, just know that he was back in Jersey at home, got into a car accident, and has been hospitalized. The Brewers did not really offer anything else in terms of details on Chiarone, and it doesn't sound like it's anything too major, too horrible that it's been. But again, they didn't offer a ton for details on this issue, so that's what kind of makes it a little bit concerning. Maybe they don't know as much simply, but the statement they put out, quote, left-handed pitcher and 2025 draft pick Frank Chiarone was involved in a car accident yesterday in Franklinville, New Jersey. Frank is currently being cared for at a hospital in New Jersey with the support of his family. The Brewers' thoughts and prayers are with Frank and his family during this difficult time. We will provide updates on Frank's condition as they become available. So, haven't been any further updates from there on Chiarone. But, he's someone, very talented young pitcher the Brewers were excited to get in the draft this past year. So, he was just going to be getting started this season in pro ball. He didn't make his affiliated debut at all last season after getting drafted, so he was likely going to start the season in Low A, Wilson, North Carolina, with the Wilson Warbirds, first year of the Wilson Warbirds. That's all the updates we have on Chiarone's status so far. He's been hospitalized, being cared for Nothing about the severity of it. Nothing about any sort of injuries, what they are. But they'll provide updates as they can. So stay tuned for that as those come out, and of course, we'll pass them along here on Brewers Daily as we get them, and hopefully things are okay with Chiron, and he's going to be able to have a regular start to his season here in a couple of weeks. Because hey, we're only 5 weeks away from spring training. We're getting close, getting that much closer. You look around at the snow on the ground and just think, we're less than 6 weeks away from spring training, from pitchers and catchers reporting. It's coming soon. Cannot wait for it, and we'll be here with you every single day throughout the week to help get you ready for Brewers spring training in the 2026 season, as that's going to be coming up. So very excited for that. Excited for you to keep on watching. Appreciate you watching Brewers Daily here. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and get notified every single time a new episode drops every single day, right around 10 o'clock in the morning each day. And follow me on Twitter as well at dgasper24 and get all the latest content that on the Brewers right away that I'm going to be having right up there. Instant analysis every single time something happens. So stay tuned for that. Also, final note, Carlos Rodriguez, you may remember him as the guy wearing 00 for the Milwaukee Brewers. He has changed his uniform number to number 27. That's right, last worn by Willy Adames. So, big change for Carlos Rodriguez, changing the jersey number. I kind of like the 00 on him. It's kind of an interesting look. You don't see too many guys wearing it, but now now that Willy Adames is gone and there's been that kind of 1 year grieving period for his jersey number, now Carlos Rodriguez is making the change to 27. So final note there. And you can find notes like that and many more, and perhaps more interesting or more important ones as well on my Twitter at dgasper24. Thank you for listening and appreciate it. And once again, we'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Brewers Daily.